report from the administration on how that project is being implemented. So, and there would be other matters in respective programs which we will continue to deal with. So I'm going to open for honorable members to engage with the report, either in the form of questions, in the form of comments and deliberations. My assumption is that all of you are going to speak. Yeah, so there is no point of having to note your hands. What we will just do is to decide where we start, Honorable Ndlovu, whether we start from left to right or from right, or from right to left. And because today I see that we have a larger representation from the EFF. Okay, we have presence of the EFF. Yeah, we are going to start with you, honorable members. Honorable Kalipi.
No, thanks very much, Chair or co-chairs. For the record, I'm Honorable Mkhaliphi, who is an alternate to the TG in this committee and is my first time to attend, so you'll forgive me. So in Parliament, we have something called a maiden speech. So this is my maiden speech. I guess
the co-chair is out of order.
Yes, Chair.
Because I have noted you to speak.
Yes, Chair.
Yes,
and she must fall.
You are under my protection. What the co-chair is doing is an encroachment, and we do not allow it.
Yes, thanks very much, Chair. We welcome the presentation by the Secretary to Parliament and his team. I just want to get some clarity, or I just want to comment on just few issues. For instance, on Program 1 of Parliament, I'm interested especially on the issues that are affecting the people of South Africa, because Parliament is all about servicing the people of Parliament. So I'm interested on the very same page of his presentation, and I must say that putting my picture there, Secretary, didn't work. So it's not a form of a silencing me. Chair, the administration, which is Program 1 of Parliament, correctly so, we are saying that the Parliament's mandate is ensuring operational excellence, institutional effectiveness, and responsiveness to members of public. Maybe if you can expand on the mandate, because that is the core business of Parliament, and we must ensure that is happening, especially how do Parliament respond to members of the public? I think there's a huge gap in that regard. As members of Parliament, we do oversight. The experience that we have, when we go on oversight, people, they just raise expectations. Especially for me, I serve at COGTA level. So when we go and do oversight on municipalities, once we said as members of Parliament, we are calling a community in this particular area, a ward, people, they come with a huge expectations. They thought that we are going to take over from the municipality. And we do have a mandate as a committee to also ensure that those issues are being attended to. But the fact of the matter, we just listen to them and say to them, okay, we are going to process a report. That's it. They don't want those things, people. They want actions. After Parliament have come to them, they want actions. So if you are saying that one of the mandates according to your administration, which is program 1, can you also elaborate it? How do you ensure that there is responsiveness to members of public? That is number 1. Going straight to program number 2, of which the Secretary of Parliament was very honest to say that we didn't achieve on oversight priority plan. Yes, I'm very happy that you didn't say you have achieved, because there is a huge gap as well on the oversight. Oversight is divided into 2 according to me. There is this oversight that is, according to the committee, we are on the oversight period next week. We go as a committee, do oversight to come back. Right? You are taken care of. But it does not mean that as a member of parliament, you must not do your oversight. Every Monday, according to a program of parliament, we must go and do our constituents. That is oversight. It includes oversight. Where I'm going with this, I don't think parliament is taking care of members who are expected to do oversight. I'm the member of the National Assembly. I do oversight everywhere in the country. I'm called by a particular members of the community in Eastern Cape. One, we have problems of Eastern Cape of flights. When I took a flight to go and address the member of the community there, in the rural area in Eastern Cape, I must think, as I arrive there, how I'm going to go back to Joburg. One is the problem of flights, because Parliament does not accommodate members of Parliament. So that is a fake oversight that I'm doing, because I'm already rushing to go back. One, I can't afford the accommodation as a member of Parliament. So it means this is a lip service. While we are saying as Parliament, we must do the oversight. We call ourselves as the Parliament of the people. I arrived there, I spent only 2 minutes to say, hello, it's me, Hlengwe Mkhaliphi, Member of Parliament, and I'm rushing back. One, I don't have accommodation. That is one thing that I think Parliament must also address. The number of tickets, I think the STP will know, and Mam Linda will know. Each and every time, especially towards this year, we are coming to you to say the flight tickets are finished. Please intervene. Mam Linda will tell us, now I'm going overboard on my budget. So those are the things that if you can't take care of your members in order to make the parliament effective, you are not going to get it right, STP, because these are the members who are supposed to go and service those people. The issue of permit, I think I was also watching the Committee on Finance when the TG was saying to the Minister of Finance, one of the issues, we as members of Parliament, we were paying 45% of tax income, 45%. You have this permit as in the members of Parliament, which is very expensive. And when we raised this issue long time ago, when we arrived here in Parliament, there was those kind of things, like, let us talk, let us not take each other to court and so on and so on. And then when we were told, no, this thing can't be resolved because it includes judges, it includes legislatures, but now Eastern Cape is out of permit, because we're told that permit functions because of the Act of Parliament. Eastern Cape is out of permit and is very expensive. Can we also address this issue of permit, Chairperson of NSOP, to say that let us make it not compulsory, but if people, they want to choose permit, while they are taken, the 45% of their money is taken, in order for them to know that at least we have something. I'm telling you, the high of unemployment in South Africa is too high. When you go to engage with the public, they know good members of a parliament. A member of parliament has got a lot of money. You can't come to a community that is hungry, and then you don't even buy cold drink. Lapo now you don't have money. 45% of your salary is taken by SARS. Permit is taken 7,000 if you have one child. If you have a husband, an aunt, and mom, 15 to 20,000 is gone. This thing can be addressed just once and for all. The presentation that suggested that you had 4.7 billion. And how much do you want? If 4.7 billion STP is not enough, can you just take us through, Guti Gandhi, how much will be enough for Parliament to function? Because right now, STP, you are talking about the tools of analysis in terms of those things called cell phones and what, but you don't give us those things. Ma'am Linda is very quick to say, you are not going to get your tool of trade because of 1, 2, 3. But Parliament got 4.7 billion and you can't even provide us. We are using old gadgets. We are claiming that, no, we are going to address it, don't worry, blah, 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 blah. But you are expecting us to also excel in that regard. Can we also be taken into confidence? The human capital report, can we be taken through in terms of the organogram of Parliament? We don't know what is happening, who's happening. I was even very stressed when you were introducing your team. Who are these ones now? Who is this? Who is this? Can we get a global picture? Who is who? Because we know there is some vacancies in that organogram, including the language service. Why we don't have people who are dedicated to be in Parliament to do the interpretation? Each time when they raise a point of order there, we've always been told, this matter is going to be attended to. The bargaining sector, you are mentioning that you don't have a collective bargaining council, but we are on top of the matters. Please also elaborate on that matter, because we don't want to find ourselves when our workers are up in arms and there is no such a platform to negotiate. I know there's CCMA, but with a big institution like this, can we also get a clarity on that one? Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Honorable Maoto, in that order.
Thank you, Chair. Greetings to yourselves once again, my colleagues, and the Parliament authorities that side. Chair, I must first express my concern with regards to, firstly, this committee being established only in the third quarter, quarter 3. I think this was the last committee to have been established. The rest of the committees of Parliament were established earlier. And to this day, we still don't know the reasons why it took almost 8 months after the elections to have this committee. We're hearing in the grapevines that the ANC was fighting with DA over wheelchairs. So we don't want to go here with rumors and gossips. Can we be told why this committee took long? And I'm saying this because, Chair, if you look at quarter 1, performance of quarter 1 and quarter 2, specifically quarter 1, there's no tabling of the report. So if you look at quarter 1, it says submission, but the tabling was on the second quarter. And then you go to the second quarter, it's got the tabling of the first quarter. And there's no tabling of the second quarter. We don't see it. So, and STP started correctly with that code that within 30 days of the end of each quarter, the accounting officer must report to the executive authority on the performance of Parliament. So how then do we deal with that? Because we're expected to very soon, maybe not in this meeting, to adopt this and take it to the House. How are we going to agree with this when it's not clear? When was it tabled? Chair, we go to the restoration of Parliament. The STP gave progress there to say the service provider has been appointed. Can STP please tell us who is the appointed service provider? Okay. Chairperson, the NCOP. And also, Chair, on that restoration of Parliament, is it not perhaps useful for the STP when you report to tell us which phase are we on? Because to just say 75% implementation of restoration plan as per milestone, we don't know what is the milestone. So just they include, these are the phases. We are now on phase 2, and this is briefly the milestone. And we can't use builders' holidays as an excuse of not meeting your target. You ought to know that in December, every builder, there's a builder's holiday. Even big retail stores, they know, they plan for that. So this cannot be used. You can't put it on a plan and then you don't meet the plan and then you blame it on builder's holiday. Chair, I'm excited about slide number 14 that talks about online petitions. You say you are ready to go live. We would like to use the system because our people really wish to petition Parliament. And also, when you petition Parliament, it was very painful, STP. We had a standing committee of finance, I think it was a joint standing committee, and it was dealing with the Bantustan states who were still complaining about their pensions. Bophuthatswana, Venda, Ciskei, Transkei, and those people, they say we transported ourselves. One of them was saying he's the duly elected leader of Venda. He traveled by bus from his own pocket. He said, I'm from Messina and I boarded a bus to be here. And we finished the meeting around 3 and was like, there's no bus to take me back home. Can I be assisted with accommodation, at least? So how do we deal with such things? We as Parliament, we accepted the petition. We invited them to come over. Why are you not assisting them with resources, accommodation and flights? One of them is from Mafikeng, it's very far. And what is more painful is that we then invite institutions. But those institutions who are paying for them, because they don't go there, they don't come there from their own pocket. It was the pension fund administrator, there were 3 institutions that were invited, and they used the resources from the institutions. But the people who are complaining about those institutions must fork out money from their own pockets. I think it's very unfair. It's actually very painful, and we know the story. We are coming from these communities. We know the issue of Transkei, of Ciskei, of Bophuthatswana, and on Venda. So let's just be really accommodating in that regard. I appreciate the impact assessment framework, STP. I think it's going to assist us in a in a more efficient way, because we've seen that majority of the times when we submit the private members' bills, us as members of Parliament, they don't go anywhere. And the ones from the executive, they are the ones that travel very fast through the process. And we were told in the past that there's no capacity in the legal department. In the last meeting, STP, you did highlight that you've capacitated the legal office. We're going to see a difference now. This framework will also really help us in a long way. On the online petitions, STP, just tell us, when are you going live and how will it work? The state capture report. Chair, it was presented in June 2022. We are now in March, towards the end of March 2025. That's almost 3 years. And what is the progress? We see the report says there's progress on the implementation of the state capture recommendation plans. What is the progress? What are we dealing with? Can we be enlightened on what has been done so far? These are recommendations. This is how far we are with these recommendations, because that commission costed a lot of money, of taxpayers' money. And really we need to see it to its finality. Chair, my concern is on written questions, which of late are now even being transferred to oral questions. And even when they get to oral questions, sometimes the House does not get to those questions. So you find that the question session time is 3 hours. We don't even finish the oral questions. Then we have to go to the transferred questions, which were delayed because of non-responsiveness from the ministers, and then we still don't get to it. Or if we do get to it, you find that the minister is not in the House. Like in the last question session, Minister Gayton McKenzie just said, I won't be around by 6 o'clock, I'm leaving. And his question was there. So how then do we deal with that? Because what other mechanism do we have as members of parliament to hold the executive accountable if they don't answer written questions, if they don't come to the house, or their questions don't get to finality? On the human capital, I'm worried about the 3-year agreement that is lapsing now, end of March. What progress has been made with the bargaining council unit, so that we don't find beginning of April employees are now on strike because there's nothing? So what process has been followed to make sure that we continue, so that they don't come and say, now they start negotiations, we want so much percentage at this time, and then that time you don't have. So we should not be caught flat-footed. And you use a lot of abbreviations, VERD, PSOP, you know. So can you just elaborate so that we are all on the same page? Chair, my last point is on the submissions of financial statements. Deadlines being missed. How do you miss deadlines, and why? And what is the what recourse do you have? Because it can't be business as usual that you just miss a submission. We don't miss from our side as political parties, because we know if we miss, we won't get our allocations. But now Parliament is missing its own deadlines, so it's very, very painful. And if you look at the governance, really it's meeting planned, meeting held. But what governance processes or targets were met? You can't just, your objective can't be a meeting. What is it in that meeting? Is it tabling of the report? Is it the review of whatever policy, review of the strategy? What is it that it comes out of the governance? We're not getting it from the report, Chairperson. And the last one is missing of secretariat meetings, because the secretariat was busy with Parliament work. That's what it says here. That's on page 51. Secretariat meeting did not take place as per requirement due to secretariat being involved in parliamentary programs. How? Can't you employ it to do what? You're employed must to do parliamentary programs. So why are you missing your own meetings? And this is a term of self-reference, as it were. So it can't be when you are busy with other things, when you are busy with work of Parliament. So you need to factor in your secretariat meeting in this parliamentary program. We do everything else ourselves, chairs, and we still meet all other obligations, internally and externally. So this is really unacceptable that you miss your own meetings and you are saying you're busy with Parliament programs. I thank you, Chair.
Honorable Sewisa.
Thank you, Chair. I think some of my points were taken by Honorable Mkalipi and TG, but I'm just going to, out of all the points, I'm just going to touch on 2 issues. And I think all of us, the common denominator is going to be the restoration of Parliament. And the TG has went into it into detail. But my question would be, how much is Parliament spending? Because the dome, I don't think the dome is a property of Parliament or even Public Works. Public Works doesn't have any material that I know. I used to sit in the Committee of Public Works and Infrastructure, and most of the time would advise that buy your own things so that you do not spend on renting. So the more we elongate the issue of restoration of Parliament, it means that we are spending on the restoration, we are also spending on the issue of renting the dome. So the question would be, how much are we actually spending per day for the use of the dome at present? Number 2 would be, Parliament is saying that they are struggling to have funds for operation. and they are reprioritizing funds. So if there's no funding for operation, then it means that the operation is not going to run smoothly, taking into consideration that there is already a budget cut. Generally, there's a budget cut. Everybody has been, is in the firing line of the budget cuts. How are we going to ensure that Parliament actually operates as it's supposed to operate? Taking into consideration STP, in the last meeting we were told that there were vacancies and things are going to be brought together, amalgamated, and see what can we do away with. But at this moment, there's the crisis we're sitting with. Already before the budget cuts, there were already a crisis of operational, and now there are budget cuts. How are you going to actually make sure that Parliament is running smoothly? And then, co-chairs, I think the other questions actually, if finance could be here and public works, because I think some of the issues when it comes to the process of what's happening with the restoration, DPWI needs to come here and we get the clarity, because there are three implementing agencies. You've got your DBSA, you've got your IDT, you've got your ISA. And my experience with the DBSA, and I hope they are not involved in this. That's why I said some of the questions need to go to the DPWI. I hope the DBSA is not involved, because the DBSA is involved in the 3-tower project in Tshwane, which is still not complete. So if we are relying on DBSA, the 2026 target is never going to be met. It's according to my experience with the implementing agency. So for now, that will be my only, I think the others have been covered by my colleagues. Thank you.
Honorable Khade.
Ngiyabonga mgcini sihlalo nobabili nje banhleli lapha. Ngiyalibonga leli thuba ningipha lona ukuthi ke ngithi ukuphefumula ngalo mniningwano esithulele wona lapha eParliament. Okokuqala sihlalo, I'd really like to appreciate the reports which were given here, because basically they show the true reflection of what is happening. When you go to the restoration of Parliament, you just go and peep from the other side. You can see that there's a gaping hole which is there. Something has to be done. And then, but when you look at the budget, you can see that it is only 10% which was used to do that. I think that there's an objective true reflection of what is happening on the ground. What must be done now in moving forward is how to ensure that the target which has been put there, that by 2026, the next State of the Nation address must be there in Parliament. I think that that's what must be expedited. But what I really appreciate from this report is the issue that one is that there's this continuous engagement between the executive authority and the Treasury and the Minister of Finance. I think that engagement is needed as of yesterday, because when you look at the baseline of Parliament itself, when you look at that baseline, you can see that although it can appear as 4.7 billion there on the books, but literally it's not like that. No, it's not like that. So the issue that if we want to have this ambition of really bringing change to the people of the country, in ensuring that our parliamentarians are really empowered, it means that we must really look at how we budget for Parliament. I'll still insist on that. So the medium-term budget policy statement was delivered last year, October, November, and then basically it cast in stone the budget which is coming here this year, which was tabled the other week. But the issue which we want to encourage here, Chair, is that we must give the executive authority all the support, that we cannot do things the way we're doing it in the past. The issue of the budget process, immediately it is adopted, the new financial year budget, it must be is only then that it started to be implemented. I feel that the executive authority actually engage at an early stage so that we as parliamentarians, we are the ones who are passing the budget. And then I think that we cannot come here and complain at the end of the day that the parliament does not have enough resources, does not have enough funds to execute its core business. So it is our decision to decide. So I think that we must give the executive authority and the administration that they must report to us quarterly how far are they with their engagement with the treasury, so that the come medium-term budget policy statement, we know that we're going to have something different, which is going to be on the table. And I'm also looking at, when you are dealing with international relations, the international relations of the country is very clear. South Africa, Africa, and the world. When I was looking at the issue of the bilaterals here, the courtesy calls which were there was not even a single courtesy call coming from an African country or from an African country. The issue is then, how are we going to ensure that the African Continental Free Trade Agreement is going to be implemented as officially? Because if we don't harness that ability which you have as an African continent, we'll always be second-guessed by the other countries. We know very well that Africa is the richest continent in the world, but its people are the poorest. I think that with this trajectory which the policy of the government is coming with, that we start with the African continent, I think we must show it even here in Parliament. I see that when you look even at the engagement, I'm very happy that China was part of the engagement, because that is our largest trading partner, China as a country, per country level. But when you go to the region, you find that the EU itself is the biggest region, biggest trade which we have with them. But throughout these three, there was not even, or it might have been affected by the elections, the SAEU interparliamentary meeting. But I think that we must prioritize that, because if we are going to change the narrative of South Africa, the issue of creating jobs must be done. And then the people who must set the tone for that is this parliament. And then, but also appreciate the other facts that, parliamentary staff is one of the best paid staff in the Republic, in the public sector in particular. That one must be highly appreciated, because when we're fighting, when we're still young, when we said injury to one is an injury to all, we said there must be a living wage. It is good that where the sector we're in, the staff is well compensated. But now we must escalate, also go to the members of parliament and ensure that the support which they get, it must be improved. It's very distressing that even up to now, other people are still running short of the cash which they must use. But on the side of compensating the members of parliament, you must not worry about what the press is saying, that the better life begins with the people who live with. I think that as we, as the parliamentarians, say, we must support that. You compensate your staff well, you support them, that you are having these aftercare services, that even if people that are under trauma, they are going to get that, because we are the yardstick. Even the presidents account to us. So it means that when we pass the laws, we must be the best implementer of those laws. So on that regard, I'll say kudos. Continue supporting our staff, and then must do. What impressed me, what I raised in the other meeting which was here, I made a run around here in Parliament. I don't want to say what I raised, but I found that there was serious improvement. Even before I came here, I went in various quarters, I checked, and then those issues which were raised were attended to, and it's only the happy staff which can do that. So it's highly appreciated. Ngiyabonga, kuyadlebuha, bayadanki, kikhathi sikuphosa.
Honorable Hansinger.
Thank you, Chairpersons. Chairperson, I would like to start with my questions on page 31, which was the section which the CFO dealt with. The second paragraph in particular, which refers to National Treasury that allocated an additional 220.8, as she put it, million rands, to direct charges to fund the exit gratuity and loss of office gratuity for non-returning members during the budget adjustment process. Now, this gratuity in itself should be a great concern to us as members of Parliament, because this has been recommended by the Independent Remuneration Commission in its report, which was released in October 2024, that this should be terminated, which means that from 2029 and for councillors from the very next election in 2026, this particular benefit will cease to exist. The benefit in particular would grant members 4 months' salary for every 5 years completed. And it serves, and the origin of this gratuity was intended to serve as a bridge for any new employment, for any other employment, but at least it was something that would get this particular now non-member of Parliament and non-councillor into a position to survive for at least a couple of months before his or her personal financial matters could be sorted out. So it should be of a great concern, and I would suggest that it be looked at in much more serious manner than to just have this one paragraph to explain that the additional budget from National Treasury occurred. And I want to leave that there and just plead that we look at this far more seriously than to just have this one paragraph here. A more direct question on page 32 would just ask for clarity on content, where the graph shows associated services. What would these associated services include? And then also just more clarity on direct charges and the difference then between, how do you allocate and what would be reckoned as direct charges, and also associated services in relation to the other categories which are mentioned there and which are clear to me. Then on page 36, I do not understand why there was any additional compensation for members, as I understand it from the presentation, to PARMET in legislatures. How must I interpret the particular allocation which is shown there as compensation of members in brackets PARMET? Please give us more detail on that. It's also mentioned on the next slide, which is slide number 37. And then on slide 45, where mention is made of psychosocial support, with 47 therapy sessions addressing mental health and 10 team consultants for emotional support. It's difficult for us to judge whether this is an improvement or whether this is because there is no context to the 47. So could you give us a bit more perspective in giving us context of how we should weigh the 47 compared to other years, or so that we just have an understanding whether 47 is, a sort of a outshooter, or whether it's within the norm of previous years' experiences. On page 49, mention is made of the policy committee that did not meet. If you could give us an explanation for that. Those are my questions. Thank you, chairpersons.